Hey, and welcome guys. Hey, today I'm not going to have so much of a build video, but I'm going to go over what I've been doing lately. Please forgive me, I just hadn't been in the YouTube mode. It just hasn't been something I've wanted to do much lately. I really just wanted to kind of just build and not worry about videoing or taking pictures, stuff like that, and just enjoy the process of building a model. Obviously, if you follow me on Facebook or Instagram or Threads, I've been posting pictures of my work. So we'll just get into it. I am going to be explaining and showing some still pictures of how I put these ships together and the work I'm doing on my, what I'm calling the Triton battle group. So to just get off, first of all, I first found all these files on Thingiverse. They're free files. I first did a print of this one up here, which is the same as this one. I just scaled this one up just to kind of see how it turned out, work on some painting techniques, see how well I could light this model kit. And so I did that one first and then moved on to the big one. That was the next one. Now it was broke up into, I believe, 10 different main parts of the 3D print. I printed it on my Bamboo A1 printer, just using generic PLA, nothing fancy, using the standard settings. I think the 0.20 layer height. I find that on the bigger models, that's fine. You don't have to get into anything smaller than that. We're going to be sanding and doing filler primer and stuff of that nature. 0.4 millimeter nozzle, not even just the normal standard nozzle. So that was pretty much the settings on all of the prints. And I'm pretty much just going to explain this one and just kind of carries over into the smaller ships. So I printed that out. Now that was, I forget how many days. It was, even at those settings, it was several days of just nonstop printing, broken up into those sections. Now the ship, the way it was designed from the designer on Thingiverse, it is kind of hollow but kind of a double wall. It doesn't really lend itself to window lighting, but I was able to drill out the back section and get some 3mm blue LEDs in there and then kind of run it up. Now on this one I do have some fiber optics running some red lights, but they're barely noticeable. So, you know, just something extra add on to that. So anyway, after I did print it out, I moved on to just connecting the sections. Now, I just used super glue to connect all these. And the bigger one, this one's a little bit heavier. I did install some kind of sleeves in between the sections, some styrene plastic that was glued on further. So it wouldn't just be like a flat connection. It would actually kind of sleeve over and all that would be glued to give it strength. And it seems to be fine. Now for the support, I had an old kind of metal looking handle. I forgot what it went to, but I kept it and it was screwed in sections. I cut that out because it was sturdy and looked good, and actually left the threads on the top and printed out a piece that would actually screw into, and I glued that into the section, drill out a hole, and it actually kind of screws in there. It's glued also, but the screws give it added support. So it's got the one big support rod holding the rest of the ship up. Now, once I got it all connected, I did go in and add more detail. I wanted, when looking at this one, I just felt like it needed a little bit more. So I did go in and mostly it's just cut styrene and just cut it into odds and ends, squares, rectangles, things of that nature. And to start gluing it, mostly on the front end, I wanted that really armored look, and I wanted to have more detail to give it a little bit sense of scale. Like this is a really big ship, it's going to have lots of armor plates. So I just went in and just tediously glued all those parts into place. Once that was all done, then it was a matter of there was some gaps and flaws in the prints. That's kind of normal for bigger prints. You might get some little bit of defects, and so just regular modeling putty, super glue, styrene. In some places, I think I had a pretty big defect up here that I took a piece of styrene and kind of just covered it all up, camouflaged any kind of areas like that. Got it all like that, and then so the first step of my process is just do like an automotive filler primer. I got some Rust-Oleum filler primer, whatever choice you use. You just want to make sure it's sandable. Did a pretty good coat over everything. Went back over with some sanding paper of different levels of coarseness to smooth that out, and then another coat, a second coat filler primer. You want one that self-levels to kind of get rid of all the layer lines left over from the print. For the most part, it's done. If you look closely, you can see a few layer lines here and there. For the most part, that kind of gets the model ready for the actual painting. Now, once I had the primer coat ready and it's all set and ready for actual painting, I used a three-step process. The first coat was a black. This happens to be a sandable primer, but it's a black base coat. To kind of darken in, there's a lot of recesses, a lot of deep panel lines in most of these ships here. Of course, you give it time to dry. You usually give at least 12 to 24 hours for that primer layer to kind of settle in, dry, make sure it's fully cured. And then the next part was adding in a kind of a dark steel metal to it. Now with the big ship, I actually made a color and I painstakingly airbrushed it on. That was just kind of, it took a long time to get that coverage. I went to, I think it was Home Depot, and found a bare metallic. It's called soft iron. It's a satin paint. It's kind of a metallic color to it. And for the rest of all the other ships, I just sprayed. That was my second coat on top of the black. And that gives it kind of that darker steel. Now, if you put it on top of a gray, it's going to be much lighter. So the black really gives it that dark, deep color that I was looking for. Once that coat dried, then I moved on back to my airbrush and went in with a silver color. This is a Vallejo model layer steel, and it's a brighter silver. And just airbrushed mostly this in the middle of the plates, leaving kind of the outline of the plates, still kind of a dark color, so you get some kind of shifting of the colors and get that to where it really mixes up the colors and gives it more detail, more life, more depth, I guess you would say, more color modulation, things of that nature. And got that all in there. From there, on the big one, I think I went back in with some accent colors. I did some detail painting on some of the ribbed areas with like a dark gray acrylic paint marker, and just kind of went in there. With the red, I used Vallejo's model color Carmine Red. It's kind of a deeper red to do the accents colors. And I think most of these I hand brushed. I think some of the smaller ones I had to kind of mask them off to get the paint to look right. So that was the red color. I did go in with a matte acrylic clear coat, just sprayed on to kind of lock everything in. There are some decals on a few of them. On this one, I just made these. I found, it actually says Galactica, but I wanted the symbol on that big spot there to have detail. And unless you really look, you don't really notice that. The Triton, obviously, I made that. It's not really the right font, but I wanted to name my battle group and that to be the focus. And so I made those decals and they're put on. Some of the other ships have decals I found that are in my parts box, just odds and ends. This one back here is the Exeter, which I think is a Star Trek name for a ship. And I think that's the only other one that has a name on it. Got some numbers here and there on the other ones. So with all that, the Adamant class up here, it also got quite a bit of detailing with the front end plates. And I think with this one, I actually went in and designed some plates on Tinkercad, just some like 1 millimeter, half millimeter thick shapes, and then printed it off on my A1. And that actually worked pretty good. It gave me a little bit more variance, a little bit more consistency instead of worrying about cutting. And also I could round off the edges just in the print. So, because this was very plain, the whole front end of this particular file. I also went in and added a lot more detail. There were some makeshift guns that were lined here. They were all covered up and plated over. And then to add kind of the final detail, I did add guns. I found a file for the Galactica's main guns on Thingiverse, and I printed them in several different sizes. Of course, the bigger ones are going on the big ship. And for those, I did use a resin printer, just have an Anycubic, I forget which one, I think it's an 8K, it's small. Anyway, I did the job fine, I printed those out, and it actually came out really well. The very fine barrels of the guns have like these very almost hair-like parts that come out, and they actually print out. I don't think I broke a single one printing them out. And I did that several times. Each ship, except for the very small ones, all have some kind of turrets on them, different sizes, and put those on there. So that was, I think that really adds to the detail of the ship and gives it a lot more realistic look, or at least a lot more entertaining look to me. Now, all the big ships have engine lights. Again, just using LEDs. I think this one had 5mm LEDs, and the rest of them had 3mm LEDs. And those are all just running into kind of a 9-volt power supply. Kind of all similar to this. I got a 9-volt running here with a basic switch that I can just turn on, and they all are similar to that. Now the smaller ones, I think there was the Ranger class. I thought about lining it, but it was just going to be too tedious, and it was just small, and these were just little support ships just to give the more interest to it. That was 3 sections, and then I have these little escort scout ships is what I'm calling them. Basically, this was the same file as the Ranger. I just did not print out the middle section, and then I stretched the front end and shortened the back end to give it a whole new look. And I also turned the engines upside down so you're not looking at the same detail. And I think those came out pretty good as like little scout ships that could, jump ahead and check out areas and still, have enough, firepower personnel to kind of carry out extended scout missions. That's anyway kind of my story to all this. This is a non-canon battle group. I'm just having fun with this. This is my idea. I don't know of any Mercury class ship called the Triton. It's just what I've come up with. All these ships are they're all modified to some degree. I think the Valkyrie, the only real change on the Valkyrie was I did go in and replace all the guns with actual resin 3D printed guns to give it more detail, more life. But other than that, they're all kind of built and painted the exact same way to give it uniform. I may be adding a few more. The last one I've done was the Exeter, which is Hermes class is what the file said, but it's really just a kit batch of the Valkyrie. And you have the main body that's been flipped around. If you look at the Valkyrie over here, they have the body flipped around, then they've added the Mercury class engines, but not the full Mercury class. They've taken half of it and then put 2 halves together. The back half, they put 2 halves together, put it in there, put the Valkyrie front end. And I actually think it has a really cool look. Very aggressive, it kind of arrowhead look to it, sleek. You kind of picture it as maybe a fast attack destroyer or whatever you want to call it. Again, it was pretty simple to light that. Just drilling out, putting my LEDs in there, and again, you can see the battery and the switches in there. It's super simple. If you want to light anything, you're afraid of lighting something, it's super simple to do those kind of effects here. And it gives us, even though it's just the engines and not any kind of lights or anything, it gives it a lot of life and makes it more entertaining to look at. So anyway, that is my Triton battle group. And I'm sorry I haven't been doing build videos. Maybe one day I'll get back to it. There is some projects I want to work on. I've just been trying to enjoy modeling and 3D printing and 3D design lately. And so that's where my focus has been. And you can always just follow me on my Facebook, my Instagram, Threads. I think it's all Eagle Farrell. I think my profile picture is me wearing a Boba Fett uniform. So if you see that, that's me. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the builds. I know some of you do follow me on my social media sites and been following this build. It's been a lot of fun. I'm enjoying it. I'm going to add to it. I plan on taking it to a model show. I know that they have, my local model show, they have a collections category. So that's going to be kind of where I plan on entering this in, is the collections as a battle group. It's kind of a 1 entry. So I think that'll be a lot of fun. Anyway, guys, thanks for joining me. Hope you have a good day. Until next time, everybody have a good one.